Chosen one, stop. Do not move past this. Do not treat this like another message. God has already attempted to reach you 4 times, and this reached your eyes because heaven is interrupting your path one more time. This is not fear, this is mercy. This is not pressure, this is protection. You did not arrive here by accident. The algorithm did not choose this moment. Heaven stepped between you and the next wrong step, because something in your spirit has been ignoring the same signal again and again. You felt it, you explained it away, but deep inside, you know, something has been calling your attention. Listen carefully. I am not speaking to the casual viewer. I am speaking to the chosen one who has been feeling a strange pull in the chest, a pressure in the mind, and a heaviness around decisions that used to feel simple. You keep saying you are tired, but your spirit knows this is deeper than tiredness. God said stop, not because he hates your progress, not because he wants to shame you, not because he is trying to scare you into obedience. He said stop because the direction you were about to normalize is connected to something you are not seeing yet. You almost ignored the first warning. It came as resistance in your body. You were about to say yes, but your stomach tightened. You were about to send the message, but your hand paused. And while the world would call that anxiety, your spirit knew it was discernment rising before your mind could explain it. Then came the second warning. Something kept getting interrupted. A plan did not settle. A door opened halfway, then closed. A conversation started, then became strange. And every time you tried to force movement, the atmosphere around it felt heavy, like heaven was putting weight on what you were trying to lift. You called it delay. You called it bad timing. You even wondered if God had forgotten your prayer. But what if that delay was not against you? What if it was the mercy of God standing in front of a door that looked right, but carried bondage on the other side? Stay with me. The third warning was more painful. It came through a person. Someone changed tone. Someone went silent. Someone revealed a side of themselves that your heart did not want to accept. And because you love deeply, you almost defended the very behavior that God was exposing. You kept making excuses for them. You said they were stressed. You said they had a hard season. You said maybe you expected too much. But heaven was not showing you their weakness to make you bitter. He was showing you their pattern so you would stop placing sacred trust in unsafe hands. Chosen one, this is where it gets serious. The fourth warning was not loud. It did not come with thunder. It did not come with a dramatic sign in the sky. It came as numbness, fog, and an inability to feel clear about what used to be obvious. You woke up and something was off. You prayed, but your mind wandered. You sat in silence, but your thoughts scattered. You heard a small instruction in your spirit. Then another voice came behind it and said, "Maybe later, not now. Wait until you feel ready." That voice was not wisdom. That voice was delay dressed as peace. There is a kind of waiting that comes from God, and there is a kind of waiting that comes from fear. One strengthens your spirit. The other slowly trains you to miss divine timing. This is why the warning had to reach you now. You have not been missing signs because God is unclear. You have been surrounded by noise, exhaustion, emotional obligation, and spiritual pressure. And when the soul gets tired enough, even a chosen one can mistake a warning for inconvenience. You have felt the atmosphere shift when certain people entered your space. You have sensed danger before anyone admitted the truth. You have known when a door was wrong before evidence appeared. But lately, you have been doubting the very discernment that once protected you. God has not been silent. Heaven has been repeating the same message through different doors. Stop going back to what already exposed itself. Stop forcing what keeps resisting peace. Stop explaining away the heaviness that arrives every time you move toward that decision. This is not about punishment. Hear that clearly. God is not standing over you with anger. He is standing before you with mercy. He is trying to keep you from stepping into something that would drain your clarity, delay your assignment, and pull your spirit back into a cycle he already delivered you from. The enemy knows you respond to responsibility. That is why he often disguises distraction as duty. He knows you care. He knows you do not like disappointing people. And he knows if he can make the wrong thing feel urgent, you may ignore the quiet instruction that actually came from God. Some of you were about to answer a message. Some of you were about to return to a place. Some of you were about to agree to something your spirit has resisted for weeks. And if this makes your chest tighten, do not run from that feeling. Listen to it. There is a reason you have been restless. There is a reason peace has not settled. There is a reason you keep asking God for confirmation, even though part of you already knows the answer. The problem is not that heaven has not spoken. The problem is that fear wants a softer answer. But chosen one, obedience rarely feels convenient at first. It often feels like loss before it reveals protection. It feels like closing a door before you see the trap behind it. And sometimes the mercy of God looks like interruption before it looks like blessing. Think back. The first warning touched your body. The second warning touched your plans. The third warning touched your relationships. The fourth warning touched your clarity. That is not coincidence. That is a pattern. God was not shouting from one direction. He was surrounding you with evidence. Because the final warning is personal. It is not vague. It is not random. It is connected to a decision you have been circling. You know the decision. You may not want to admit it out loud yet, but your spirit recognized it before this sentence finished reaching you. Chosen one. God said stop, because the next season requires clean hearing. It requires clean hands. It requires clean alignment. You cannot carry divided obedience into a divine assignment and expect the atmosphere to stay clear around you. You are not crazy for feeling interrupted. You are not weak for needing confirmation. You are not dramatic for sensing danger before proof appears. You are a watchman, and watchmen often feel the shift before the city understands why the alarm had to sound. But now, you must decide something inwardly. Will you keep calling the alarm an inconvenience, or will you honor it as protection? Will you keep demanding a fifth sign, or will you respond to the four that have already come? The first warning was in your body. The second was in your plans. The third was in the people around you. The fourth was in the fog that tried to bury your clarity. And the reason this message found you now is because the next instruction requires a response, not another delay. Stay with this. We are not finished. Because in the next part, the four warnings will begin to make sense in a deeper way. And you will see why. The fourth warning was not the loudest. It was the quietest. And that is why you almost missed it. You thought God was silent. He was repeating himself. You thought heaven had stepped back. Heaven was actually stepping in front of you. And every delay, every strange heaviness, every broken rhythm, and every uneasy pause was part of the same divine interruption. Chosen one. The first warning came through your body, because your body often hears what your mind tries to debate. You felt the tightness. You felt the pause. You felt the strange resistance when everything on the outside looked normal. That was not weakness. That was discernment trying to rise before logic talked you out of obedience. You have been trained to ignore your own signals. People called you too sensitive. They said you overthink. They told you to calm down, be practical, stop reading into everything. But the truth is, heaven gave you a spiritual nervous system that reacts when something is not aligned. That is why certain rooms make your spirit heavy. That is why certain conversations drain you before they even become conflict. That is why certain opportunities look good on paper, but something inside you refuses to rest when you think about them. Your body was not betraying you. It was warning you. The first warning was not meant to confuse you. It was meant to slow you down. God knew that if he spoke only through peace, you might still force the plan because you wanted it so badly. So mercy touched your body and made the wrong thing uncomfortable. But you almost dismissed it. You said maybe you were just tired. You said maybe the pressure was normal. You said maybe every big step feels scary. And yes, Some fear appears before a new season, but this was different because the heaviness did not lead to growth, it led to inner shrinking. Hear this clearly. Divine warning does not always feel like panic. Sometimes it feels like a holy refusal. Something in you simply cannot agree, even when your mouth is trying to say yes. That refusal is not rebellion. That refusal can be the protection of God. The second warning came through interruption. You tried to move, but the path kept breaking. You tried to plan, but the timing kept slipping. You tried to make things smooth, but the atmosphere around it kept becoming complicated. And after a while, you began to call it bad luck. It was not bad luck. It was obstruction with mercy inside it. There are doors that God will not allow to open easily because He knows you are loyal enough to walk through them and stay too long. So He lets the hinge jam before the prison closes. You wanted the plan to work. You wanted the answer to be yes. You wanted the connection to become stable. But every time you leaned closer, something pulled the curtain back and showed you that peace was missing from the foundation. Chosen one, do not confuse resistance with rejection. Sometimes resistance is redirection. Sometimes the delay that embarrasses you is the delay that saves you. And sometimes heaven will let a plan fall apart in public so it does not destroy you in private. This is where you must become honest. You asked God to guide you, but when guidance came as a closed door, you called it attack. You asked God to protect you, but when protection came as delay, you called it disappointment. Heaven answered. It just did not answer in the form your flesh preferred. Before we go deeper, let me name something gently so it does not feel hidden later. Some of you are not ignoring God because your heart is rebellious. Your mind has been crowded, worn down, and covered by so much noise that the signal feels buried under pressure. There is a 7-minute audio tool called the Genius Song, created around gamma brainwave support, that I will explain more fully after the revelation lands. Do not rush past the teaching for the tool. Stay here first, because you need to understand why your inner signal has been under so much interference. This matters because obedience requires clarity. A tired mind delays. A noisy mind debates. A foggy mind asks for signs that have already been given. And when your spirit is trying to move while your mind is drowning in static, even a chosen one can hesitate at the exact moment heaven says move. Now listen. The third warning came through a person. This one hurt the most because it touched your loyalty. Someone shifted. Someone became cold. Someone revealed a pattern you had been trying not to name. And because your heart is deep, you tried to cover what God was trying to uncover. You made excuses for them. You protected their image. You remembered who they used to be. You told yourself they did not mean it. They were stressed. They were wounded. They were just going through something. But heaven was not asking you to hate them. Heaven was asking you to see them clearly. There is a difference between grace and denial. Grace forgives. Denial pretends. Grace releases bitterness. Denial keeps returning to the same wound and calls it love. God was not exposing that person so you could become cruel. He was exposing the pattern so you would stop calling danger your assignment. Chosen one, you are not required to sacrifice your discernment to prove your compassion. You can love someone and still obey God when He shows you they cannot enter the next room of your life. You can forgive them and still stop handing them the key. That was the third warning, relational exposure. A mask slipped. A sentence revealed the heart. A silence said more than an apology ever could. And instead of receiving the warning, you almost negotiated with it because walking away felt too painful. But there are people the enemy uses through access. Not always because they are evil. Sometimes because they are unhealed, jealous, entitled, or attached to the version of you they could control. And when God starts raising you, their discomfort becomes a sign. They may not understand your next season. They may not honor your boundary. They may not celebrate your obedience. But that does not mean you are wrong. It means the warning is working. It means God is showing you who can travel with your calling and who can only visit your old pain. The fourth warning was the quietest. This is why you almost missed it. It did not arrive as a door closing. It did not arrive as a person changing. It arrived as fog. It arrived as numbness. It arrived as a strange dullness around things that once felt spiritually sharp. You used to know, you used to sense, you used to feel the difference between peace and pressure almost immediately. But lately, you have been second-guessing everything. You hear a whisper from God, then you hear another thought, asking if you are being dramatic. That fog is not random. Confusion is one of the enemy's favorite hiding places. If he cannot make you openly disobey, he will try to make you delay until obedience feels impossible. If he cannot steal the word, he will bury it under noise. This is why you have felt mentally tired after simple decisions. This is why prayer sometimes feels like pushing through thick air. This is why you can sit still and still feel crowded inside. The battle is not only around you. Part of the battle is over your clarity. But God is not confused. Heaven is not unsure. The warning is not weak. The signal has been coming again and again. The issue is that your inner atmosphere has been carrying too many voices that were never assigned to guide you. Some voices came from fear. Some came from old shame. Some came from people who needed you small. Some came from survival habits you built when you had no one to protect you. And now those voices are trying to sound like wisdom. But wisdom produces clean peace. Fear produces endless loops. Wisdom may challenge you, but it does not make you feel trapped. Fear may sound careful, but it secretly keeps you bound to what God already told you to leave. This is the reframe. The warnings were not proof that your life is falling apart. They were proof that God is still actively guarding your path. The heaviness, the interruption, the exposure, and the fog were all pointing to one truth. You are being stopped before you step into misalignment. You are not being rejected. You are being rerouted. You are not being delayed because heaven forgot you. You are being delayed because one wrong agreement could cost you months of peace, focus, and spiritual authority. God is not blocking your future. He is blocking contamination. Think of how many times you asked for protection. Then think of how often protection looked like frustration. You prayed for discernment, then became offended when discernment made you uncomfortable. You prayed for open doors, but heaven loved you enough to close the door that carried hidden bondage. This is why you cannot measure God by convenience. Convenience will sometimes pull you toward the trap. Peace will sometimes pull you away from the applause. And obedience will often ask you to disappoint people who benefited from your confusion. Chosen one, your next season is too important for borrowed voices. Your assignment is too weighty for emotional guessing. Your spirit is too valuable to keep ignoring the alarms heaven placed inside you. The warning is not here to crush you. It is here to separate you from what cannot come forward. Now look at the pattern again. The first warning touched your body. The second touched your plans. The third touched your relationships. The fourth touched your clarity. God was not speaking once. He was surrounding your life with confirmation from every direction. And if you are honest, you already know which part of this message is yours. You already know the person, the plan, the place, or the decision that keeps producing heaviness. You already know where peace leaves. You already know where your spirit stops breathing. Do not condemn yourself for missing it before. Shame will only create more fog. Let mercy bring you back into attention. Let truth become gentle and strong at the same time. God is not saying you failed 4 times. He is saying He loved you enough to warn you 4 times. But here is what the enemy does not want you to understand. The warning was not only about what you were about to do. It was about who you were about to become if you ignored it. One wrong yes can train the soul to stop trusting God. One ignored signal can make delay feel normal. That is why this message is urgent. Not because heaven is angry. Because your future requires a sharper version of you. A clearer version. A quieter version. A version that does not need 5 confirmations before obeying the first instruction. Stay with me, because the next part will show you that this pattern is not new. God has always warned his chosen ones through dreams, delays, closed doors, quiet resistance, and uncomfortable exposure. And once you see that pattern in Scripture, you will understand why this moment is not random. We must go deeper. This pattern did not begin with you. God has always warned his chosen ones through dreams, delays, closed doors, interruptions, and the small pressure that refuses to leave the spirit alone. When God repeats a warning, the assignment is too valuable to lose. Joseph understood this. A dream came before the danger became visible. The warning did not arrive through public proof. It arrived through a private signal that required obedience before anyone else understood why movement was necessary. He speaks before the threat looks obvious. Many people want God to explain everything first. They want a map. They want every person around them to agree before they move. But chosen obedience often begins when your spirit knows something your surroundings cannot confirm yet. This is why your dreams matter. Not every dream is a message. Not every image carries instruction. But when a dream repeats, when a face returns, when a door appears, when you wake with pressure in your chest, do not dismiss it quickly. Sometimes God speaks at night because your waking mind argues too much. David understood interruption too. He was anointed before he was seated. He was chosen before he was publicly honored. Yet God did not let him rush into the throne through fleshly force. There were moments when David could have grabbed what was promised, but obedience required him to wait without becoming bitter. That matters for you. One warning over your life has been connected to timing. You want the promise now. You want the door now. You want the answer now. But God is not only preparing the blessing, he prepares the version of you who can carry it. A premature yes can damage a divine promise. A wrong connection can drain the oil from a chosen vessel. A forced door can turn a calling into a burden. That is why God sometimes delays what he truly intends to give. Delay is not always denial. Sometimes delay is alignment. Moses understood closed doors. He wanted deliverance, but deliverance came through a wilderness. God did not choose the easiest route. He chose the route that would expose dependence and build authority. Sometimes the long road is not punishment. It is preparation. Elijah understood the quiet warning. He saw fire. He saw wind. He saw shaking. But the voice of God was not always in the loud movement. Sometimes it came in the still small sound, the kind of sound only a surrendered spirit can recognize. That is why the fourth warning was so dangerous. It came through quietness. It came through fog. It came through the loss of inner sharpness. And because it did not feel dramatic, you almost treated it as nothing. But the quietest warning often requires the highest discernment. This is where the enemy works carefully. He does not always begin by making you rebel. Sometimes he begins by making you tired. He adds noise, emotional weight, obligation, and urgent problems until the voice of God feels distant under the pressure. That is why clarity matters. Scripture shows God speaking through stillness, dreams, interruption, and closed doors. Modern life trains the mind to run without stillness. It keeps the soul reacting. It keeps the brain crowded. And a crowded mind can hear the warning, yet still fail to obey quickly. This is also why the Gamma conversation matters. Not as a replacement for prayer, not as a replacement for Scripture, not as a shortcut around obedience. It matters because a chosen mind, under constant noise, often needs support to become still enough to recognize what the Spirit already knows. The Genius song will be explained more fully later because it connects to this issue of clarity. For now, understand the principle. When the mind is buried under static, the spirit may still receive the signal, but the person delays because the inner atmosphere cannot settle long enough to move. God is not asking you to become strange. He is asking you to become clear. He is not asking you to chase every feeling. He is asking you to discern which feelings carry peace, which carry warning, and which were planted by fear to keep you circling the same mountain. This is the biblical pattern. God warns before separation. God interrupts before elevation. God closes before he redirects. God exposes before he releases. He lets the chosen one see what others do not see, because the chosen one is responsible for obeying before the crowd understands. Noah built before rain. Joseph moved because of a dream. David waited because the throne could not be stolen. Moses turned aside because the bush burned in a way he could not ignore. Elijah listened beyond the noise because the loudest thing was not always the truest thing. Do you see the pattern now? God often speaks before evidence catches up. That is why your discernment felt lonely. That is why people did not understand your hesitation. That is why they called you sensitive when heaven was actually sharpening your alarm. The warning over you is not meant to make you paranoid. It is meant to make you anchored. Paranoia sees danger everywhere. Discernment recognizes the specific place where peace has lifted. Paranoia scatters the mind. Discernment gathers the spirit into one clean instruction. Some connections are not evil, but they are expired. Some opportunities are not sinful, but they are misaligned. Some rooms are not cursed, but they belong to the version of you that survived, not the version of you that is being sent. That is why your spirit cannot rest there anymore. You keep trying to feel peace in places where peace has already been lifted. You keep asking God to bless what he is trying to separate. You keep asking for confirmation about what your spirit has known for weeks, and heaven keeps answering with the same pressure. This is not cruelty, this is mercy. God would rather interrupt you now than repair you later. He would rather close a door while you are frustrated than let you walk through and spend months escaping what your spirit already knew was wrong. The final warning is not only about danger, it is also about identity. God does not warn you this intensely because you are meaningless. He warns you because your assignment carries weight, and the enemy would love to get access before your next level stabilizes. Now the question becomes serious. What will you do when God warns you before other people understand? What will you do when obedience makes you look difficult, sensitive, or unavailable? What will you do when the only proof you have is the peace that left and the pressure that stayed? Chosen one. This is where watchers are separated from wanderers. Wanderers need crowds. Watchers need confirmation from God. Wanderers wait until everyone agrees. Watchers obey when the alarm sounds inside the spirit, even if the city is still sleeping. This brings us to the place most people avoid. If God has warned you 4 times, then the issue is no longer whether he spoke. The issue is why part of you still wants permission to ignore what he already made clear. Stay with me now, because the next part will uncover the hidden blocker beneath the delay, and it may confront you, but it will also free you. The warning was not only about what you were about to do. It was about the version of you that keeps choosing familiarity over obedience. Chosen one, now we must uncover the part that hurts. God did not warn you 4 times because he enjoys repeating himself. He warned you because something inside you has been negotiating with the very thing he already told you to release. This is the hidden blocker. You do not only fear the wrong door, you fear what obedience will cost you. You fear the silence after the door closes. You fear the version of yourself that must stand alone without explaining every decision to people who never carried your assignment. That is why you asked for another sign, not because the first signs were weak, not because heaven was unclear. You asked again because the clear answer required a clean break, and part of you hoped God would soften the instruction. But God is not changing the warning to match your comfort. He is changing your courage to match the warning. You wanted peace without separation. You wanted clarity without confrontation. You wanted elevation without loss. But some doors cannot open until other doors are shut. This is where many chosen ones get stuck. They call it waiting on God, but deep inside, they are waiting for obedience to stop hurting. They are not waiting for direction. Direction already came. They are waiting for the emotion to become easy enough to obey without trembling. Hear me. Trembling obedience still counts. A shaking yes still moves heaven. A tearful no still breaks a cycle. You do not have to feel powerful to obey. Sometimes the most powerful version of you is the one who whispers, "God, I am scared, but I will not ignore you again." The first warning was your body. The second warning was your plans. The third warning was the person or pattern God exposed. The fourth warning was the fog that tried to bury your clarity. Now the final warning is this: stop asking God to confirm what your fear is trying to postpone. You already know. That is the sentence your old self hates. You already know where peace left. You already know what keeps draining you. You already know which connection makes your spirit shrink, which plan feels forced, and which place feels like a room you outgrew. The enemy does not always need to destroy a chosen one. Sometimes he only needs to keep them explaining, keep them delaying, keep them asking for one more dream, one more sign, one more conversation, one more apology, one more feeling of certainty. Because delay has a cost. Every time you ignore a divine warning, your inner alarm becomes easier to silence. Every time you negotiate with what God exposed, confusion gains more room. And every time you call fear wisdom, your discernment has to fight through heavier fog. But this message is not here to shame you. Shame is another trap. Shame makes people hide from the God who is trying to heal them. Conviction brings you closer. Condemnation pushes you away. What you are feeling right now is not rejection. It is holy conviction. God is saying, "I showed you in your body. I showed you in the delay. I showed you in the exposure. I showed you in the fog. I did not leave you without witness. I surrounded your life with warning because I refused to let you walk blind into what I already saw." This is why the warning feels intense. Your next season cannot be built on divided obedience. You cannot enter a clean door while holding a contaminated agreement. You cannot ask God for elevation while still protecting the pattern He is trying to remove. This is not only about a person. It may be a place. It may be a plan. It may be a habit. It may be a secret attachment to an old outcome. But whatever it is, the sign is the same. When you move toward it, your spirit loses breath. Peace is not always excitement. Peace is not always emotion. Peace can be quiet, firm, and clean. But when something repeatedly steals your inner breath, leaves you heavy, and makes you smaller, do not call that spiritual warfare only. Sometimes it is misalignment. This is where the confrontation becomes freedom. The enemy did not win because he is stronger than God. He gained ground because you kept doubting what God already placed inside you. But that pattern breaks when you stop treating your discernment like a mood. Your discernment is not a mood. Your warning system is not drama. Your spirit did not become heavy for no reason. Heaven has been speaking through the same pattern because God knew your heart would try to be loyal to something that no longer carries grace. Chosen one. The final warning is not God saying He is finished with you. It is God saying He is finished negotiating with the version of you that keeps calling delay wisdom. He is finished letting confusion dress itself as patience. He is finished letting fear use holy language to keep you still. That means something must end. Maybe not with noise, maybe not with a public explanation, maybe not with a dramatic announcement, but inwardly something must end today. A yes must be withdrawn. A no must be honored. A boundary must become real. This is why the body warned you. This is why the plan kept breaking. This is why the person was exposed. This is why the fog came. It was not random. It was one connected alarm, ringing through 4 different places in your life. And now the alarm is being interpreted. The first warning said, "Slow down." The second warning said, "Stop forcing." The third warning said, "See clearly." The fourth warning said, "Clear the noise." The final warning says, "Obey before the door decides for you." Do not wait for pain to become the teacher. Do not wait for betrayal to confirm what discernment already told you. Do not wait for exhaustion to make the decision your spirit has been asking you to make with courage. You are not becoming empty. You are becoming available. You are not losing your life. You are recovering your assignment. You are not being stripped to be punished. You are being cleared so your spirit can hear without fighting through the same old noise. Now understand the deeper meaning. The warning was not only about what you were about to do, it was about who you would become if you ignored it. Every ignored warning shapes identity. It teaches the soul to distrust God and trust discomfort. But every act of obedience restores authority. Every clean no makes your yes stronger. Every released attachment makes your spirit lighter. Every time you honor the warning, you train your life to move with heaven instead of dragging behind fear. This is the turning point. You do not need another sign. You need a clear atmosphere. You do not need another person to validate what God already confirmed. You need enough stillness to stop bargaining with the instruction. And that is where the next part matters. Because once you understand that the warning was real, you must ask how to protect your clarity from the noise that made you miss it before. You need prayer. You need obedience. And for some of you, you also need a simple anchor that helps your mind become quiet enough to follow what your spirit already knows. You have reached the sacred turning point. The warning has been named. The pattern has been exposed. The noise has been confronted. And now God is not asking you to panic. He is asking you to become clear enough to obey without circling the same mountain again. Chosen one, this is where the message becomes practical and holy at the same time. You need prayer. You need obedience. You need separation from what keeps stealing your peace. But some of you also need support for the very place where the enemy has been attacking you most, your clarity. That is why I mentioned the Genius song earlier. It is not a replacement for God. It is not a replacement for prayer. It is not a replacement for scripture or obedience. It is a 7-minute digital audio track created to support gamma brainwave activation, so the mind can become stiller, sharper, and more receptive to the clarity your spirit has been trying to carry. Dr. Robert Lake spent 34 years studying the brain, and his work was built around a simple truth that many chosen ones recognize deeply. There was a time when your mind felt brighter. You sensed quickly. You learned fast. You could feel patterns before people explained them. Then life happened, stress happened, rejection happened, survival happened. The world trained your brain to stay in pressure, noise, and reaction. And somewhere along the way, the clarity you once carried began to feel buried beneath heaviness. Scientists have studied gamma waves through places like MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and other leading research universities. Gamma is linked with focus, insight, memory, creative flow, and those sudden moments when everything becomes clear. For the chosen one, that matters because your assignment requires more than emotion. It requires discernment. The Genius song uses brain entrainment, which means carefully designed sound patterns guide the brain toward a specific state. You simply wear headphones and listen for 7 minutes. You do not need a complicated ritual. You do not need to meditate for hours. You do not need to write pages of affirmations. This matters because a noisy mind delays, a tired mind debates, a foggy mind keeps asking for another sign when heaven already spoke. And if God has warned you 4 times, you cannot afford to keep living with a mind so crowded that obedience feels buried. More than 18,366 people have already used it. But the strongest sign is not only how many tried it. The strongest sign is that fewer than 4% requested refunds, which means the overwhelming majority kept using it after the guarantee window because something about it served them. That does not mean every person feels the same thing on the same day. Some feel calmer quickly. Some notice focus first. Some realize after a few weeks that decisions feel cleaner, prayer feels less crowded, and the inner static is no longer running the whole room. A teacher in Texas used it after feeling like her mind had been running at a fraction of its old strength. After a few weeks, ideas began returning, and one decision she had delayed for a year suddenly felt clear enough to make. That is the kind of shift many chosen ones are not even asking for loudly. but desperately need. Another person had been without work for nearly 2 years. He did not feel incapable. He felt foggy. After listening consistently, he described the change as something inside his head becoming available again. The opportunity came later, but the clarity came first. That is the bridge I want you to understand. You are not being offered noise. You are being pointed toward a tool that supports quiet. You are not being asked to chase a miracle outside yourself. You are being reminded that God already placed clarity inside you, and sometimes the mind needs help returning to the frequency where it can hear. Most people spend far more trying to solve this problem in harder ways. A meditation app can cost around $15 every month. An online growth course can cost $100 to $200. A single therapy session can cost around $150. A weekend spiritual retreat can cost $400 to $800. Some professional brain training clinics can cost around $300 for one session. And while those things may help some people in some ways, most of them are not built specifically around gamma activation. They may calm you, but they do not always target the clarity state your assignment needs. Dr. Lake compressed his work into one 7-minute audio track. The regular price is $49, but for those reached through this message, the access is $39 one time. No monthly subscription, no shipping, no waiting for a package. It is delivered digitally, so you can begin from wherever you are. And there are 4 bonuses included. Genius Child is valued at $19, created for young minds before the world trains their brightness out of them. The classic book is valued at $20, and it carries old wisdom about wealth that many modern teachers borrowed from without honoring the source. The guided visualization is valued at $29, and it walks you through 4 areas of life, so your mind is not wandering alone through the process. The 5-habit infographic is valued at $12, giving you simple daily anchors to help keep your clarity active instead of letting old patterns take over again. Together, those bonuses carry $80 in value. They are included with the $39 access, so you are not only receiving the 7-minute audio, you are receiving a small support system around it, designed to help you protect the clarity that this message has been calling back to life. And listen carefully, because this matters. There is a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you use it and feel it is not for you, you can send an email and receive a full refund. No complicated conditions. No returning anything, because it is digital. Even more, you keep all 4 bonuses. That is not a trick. It is a way of honoring your time. If you step into this and decide it is not right for you, you still keep the $80 in bonuses as a thank you for trying to restore the clarity that your life and assignment require. Now I need to protect you. There are fake pages and imitation products using the name Genius Song. Some are just ordinary sounds. Some do not include the real brain entrainment technology. Some do not include the 4 bonuses, and some do not carry the guarantee. Do not search for it on Amazon. Do not search for it on YouTube. Do not search for it on Spotify. Do not follow random pages that appear later. The original access path is in the description and the pinned comment, where the audio, the bonuses, and the guarantee are held together. Now pause for a moment. Take one slow breath. Place your hand over your heart. Ask yourself honestly, am I willing to hear clearly again? Not for pressure, not for fear, not because someone told you to move, but because your spirit recognizes that the old fog cannot come with you into the next season. If your answer is yes, the access point is below. The description and the pinned comment will guide you there. Step through only if your spirit recognizes the alignment. Then come back to this message and seal it with the words, I will not miss God again. Now we return to the sacred seal. Chosen one, the warning has been received. The 4 signals have been named. Your body warned you. Your plans were interrupted. The pattern around people was exposed. The fog revealed where the battle had been hiding. You do not need to be afraid now. Fear had its moment, but it does not get your future. Confusion had its season, but it does not get your obedience. Delay had its excuse, but it does not get your assignment. Place your attention fully here. Let your spirit become still. Let your breathing slow down. Let the noise lose permission. Heaven is not screaming now. Heaven is speaking with authority, and the part of you that belongs to God is listening. Say this in your spirit. I receive the warning. I release the delay. I break agreement with confusion. I will not call fear wisdom anymore. I will not call heaviness peace. I will not call a closed door rejection when God is using it as protection. I release the person, plan, place, habit, or attachment that keeps stealing my clarity. I forgive without returning to bondage. I love without surrendering discernment. I choose obedience even if my voice shakes. I choose God even if my flesh wants comfort. I declare that my inner alarm is holy. I declare that my discernment is returning. I declare that I will recognize the difference between pressure and peace. I declare that the enemy will not use noise to bury the instruction of God in my life. The first warning has been honored. The second warning has been understood. The third warning has been accepted. The fourth warning has been exposed. And this final warning will not pass over me without response. God, clear my mind, clear my spirit, clear my atmosphere. Remove every voice that was never assigned to guide me. Remove every false urgency. Remove every emotional chain. Remove every attachment that makes disobedience feel compassionate. Give me courage to stop. Give me wisdom to wait when waiting is holy. Give me strength to move when moving is required. Give me clean peace, not counterfeit comfort. Give me sharp discernment, not restless suspicion. Chosen one, your next season will not be entered through panic. It will be entered through clarity. It will be entered through obedience. It will be entered through the quiet strength of someone who no longer needs 10 signs to honor one instruction from God. The warning was not the end of your story. It was the mercy that kept your story from bending in the wrong direction. God did not warn you to terrify you. He warned you because the assignment ahead is too valuable for confusion to keep governing your choices. If this message found the exact place in your life, seal it now. Type, "Final warning received." Let that declaration become your public agreement that you will not ignore what heaven has repeated. Let your comment be a line in the ground. And if your spirit knows someone else is circling the same warning, send this to them. Not to scare them, not to control them. Send it because sometimes mercy arrives through a message that reaches someone before the wrong door fully opens. Subscribe and stay close, because the next instruction may be the one that confirms what God is already doing in your season. You are not walking blind anymore. You are not calling confusion normal anymore. You are not begging for signs while ignoring the ones already sent. The warning has been heard. The fog is being lifted. The wrong door is losing power. Your discernment is returning. Your obedience is becoming clean. And from this moment forward, you will not miss God again.